Alton Towers state that it's the world's most intense ride experience. And some theme park enthusiasts say that it's the best coaster in the UK and one of the best in the world. But does it really live up to the hype? Is it worth travelling to Alton Towers for? Wow! Nemesis is an inverted coaster manufactured by Swiss company Bolliger & Babillard and positions riders beneath the track, taking them on an exhilarating ride around the Forbidden Valley area of Alton Towers. Due to strict planning restrictions preventing the park from building above tree level, they were forced to dig out a large pit for the ride and so themed it to a creature that has been excavated from the ground. And you know what? I've got to say that the result is a pretty impressive feat of engineering, to be honest. The queue line really lets you appreciate this, as it takes you over and under the coaster multiple times, and it's actually one of the best queue lines in the country. One of the most interesting features of this ride is actually its station, which is designed to act as the excavated creature itself that you go inside when boarding. And I've got to say that the park chose an interesting design there. Anyway, moving swiftly onto the ride experience, and unfortunately this is where things take a turn for the worst. The coaster starts off with a lift hill that takes you to the ride's maximum height of only 43 feet. However, the ride then proceeds straight into a twisted drop, or more so a descent because of how shallow it is, of 104 feet that takes you towards the bottom of the pit. You're then flung straight into a
first inversion, the first barrel roll coming up now.
Well, it's actually a corkscrew, and this has quite a bit of whip to it, so it's a fun element to go through. However, it can be a little rough when the ride is running quickly. Straight after this, you then enter a vertically balanced 270-degree downward helix, and I've got to say, this is one of the most intense elements on any UK coaster, and it's the one part of the ride that, without fail, every time I ride it, impresses me. Following this, you then enter an impressive zero-G roll which goes straight over the station, and that's it. End of the ride. On a serious note, beyond this point, the ride doesn't really do anything for me. It goes very downhill, very quickly, and I'd go as far as to say as it's actually pretty forceless. Following the zero-G roll, you proceed into a turn before dropping down into a tunnel and into a vertical loop. Now, this vertical loop, similar to the helix, is another one of the elements on the ride that people hype up for its intensity. However, unlike the helix, this is nothing more than average. For example, the loop on Revolution at Blackpool Pleasure Beach is far more intense. By this point, you've lost a lot of your speed, and after another turn, which is completely forceless and actually a little bit rough, you dive into yet another tunnel before entering your final inversion, which this time is actually a barrel roll. This inversion can really be quite rough. There's a moderate chance you will bang your head on the hard over-the-shoulder restraints, and should this happen, it can be enough to ruin the entire ride. A final and yet another forceless turn then follows before you hit the brake run, and you're left thinking that the ride is way too short and quite underwhelming. Before I rode Nemesis for the first time, it was hyped up to me a lot, and I came off severely disappointed because it was a lot less intense than I thought it was going to be, and quite jolty here and there. It's never managed to blow me away ever since. It's severely overrated, and I would go as far as to say as that Infusion at Blackpool Pleasure Beach has a better layout and would be a better ride if it didn't ride like a shopping trolley. In all seriousness, Nemesis is a good ride, especially towards the front of the train, but it's not the great ride that it's cracked up to be. It's not worth putting on your bucket list for now, however it will be closing soon for a full retrack, so who knows, it may reopen as a better ride. On the other hand, if you're interested in riding the Smiler, which is a much better coaster, then Alton Towers is worth visiting for that alone. Do not miss the video on the right side of your screen, in which I share my initial thoughts after riding it for the first time. For more things Thrill related in the UK and beyond, be sure to click the icon in the centre of your screen to subscribe, and be sure to leave your thoughts on Nemesis in the comments down below.